great. Here's a stick.
Great, everyone.
All right. Well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Polite as Fuck. I hope you guys are doing all right.
She's in touch with her feminine voice.
I'm just so serene.
Everybody.
You said this last time we were in a different environment. I think it's because I just don't want to be so, obnoxious.
Loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I know the microphone is picking up everything, so I don't need to be like, welcome back, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I normally am.
Sorry, I'm not going to comment on your intros. They're great. Go ahead.
That's it. Welcome. No. Hope you guys are doing well. As you can see, if you're watching our YouTube, we are in a new location today. Just trying something different. We've been here before. We walk the dogs in this area. It's the Mission Trails. And I found these picnic benches and I thought oh my gosh, how fun would it be to record an episode? And for this week's episode, we're talking about channeling our feminine energy, finding it. What is it? What does it mean? And what better place to do that than nature?
In Mother Nature.
In Mother Nature.
Well, interestingly enough, I met with, okay.
Thoughts?
It feels weird for me to say that I'm working with a dating coach. It's weird that I am, because I think in my mind there's this connotation of if I'm working with a dating coach, something's really wrong with me.
Yeah.
Or that I am I don't know, this is just my own issue of if someone's working with a dating coach, maybe they just have never dated in their life, or they don't know how to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Which I guess I don't know how to be in a relationship because I haven't had a healthy one. But anyway, this week we met and what we were talking about was getting in touch more with your feminine energy, which is something I've been wanting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got me thinking about this topic more, and it got me thinking about the monologue that America Ferrera gives in Barbie. And I feel at the time when I watched that scene, it resonated with me. But now really thinking about it, it got me fired up.
Yeah. Because
I was it is so accurate, the way the world has kind of shifted, and especially with women being in the workforce more and all these non-traditional roles that are happening, which I think is great.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this expectation of doing and being masculine and leaning more into that hardworking side of yourself,
mm-hmm.
but also the expectation of you being soft and gentle and kind and in touch with your emotions, but not too in touch with your emotions because you need to be what she said in there is so accurate.
Yeah.
It's so accurate.
It's literally the expectation is for us to be everywhere all at once, be doing too much, but not existing too much. It's insane.
It's crazy. Because I'm I want to be in touch with this side of myself, and I feel I have been before. When I listen, well, actually, maybe we should start with what do you think is feminine energy? How would you, when we're talking about this, what are you envisioning in your mind?
The word flow is the first word that kind of comes to my mind when I think of feminine energy, because it's just you're flowing, things aren't happening to you, you're kind of just happening alongside of the world is kind of how I envision it, because it's hard for me to put things onto it. I'm trying to think of actual actions of journaling, meditating versus doing and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure those are true and we can get into that too, but I feel it's just a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I also think of the word balance, because it's not that I want to just have feminine energy. I think a lot of my characteristics sit in the masculine, which is fine, and I want to be more comfortable, but I'm not comfortable, so I feel very imbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think of feminine energy, I think of balancing it out with the flow.
I like that.
Yeah, that's my definition.
That's really good. I had listened to, have you heard of The Angry Therapist?
Mm-hmm.
Was he on Girls Gotta Eat
I think
or
so.
something?
Yeah.
Okay, I was how do I know who this is? But he put out this 15-minute episode on feminine energy, which I thought was interesting coming from a male.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he defined it really loosely was masculine is doing, feminine is being.
Ooh.
And if you think about Or if you think about like polar opposites, like masculine is more like the sun, like fire, you're going, this is hot, we're like moving. Feminine is more the moon, like gentle, soft, cloud, like just you know?
Yes.
And that was helpful for me. And I like that word flow, because thinking of like being, I like that like flow state. Like you're not just necessarily like letting things happen to you, but you're kind of taking things in stride and like moving with them and embracing like the emotions that come with it.
Yeah. And I like, isn't that the power of feminine energy? Is like so many things happen to like, I'm just like trying to envision the women in my life, whether like I am really close with them or not super close, like motherhood, like challenge after challenge after challenge, like attacks, and keeps like life just keeps coming at you. And like all you have to do is like adapt and move, adapt and move, adapt and move. And like, it's hard because we live in a very male dominated, very masculine energy kind of lifestyle. And so with like the need to constantly exist in this like state of masculinity, when like in reality, the way the world works, not the world that we created, is the flow, is the being. And it's like we do that anyways, but we do it kind of like, I think of like a fish trying to swim like upstream. It's like if we just like turned around and just like went with it, we would just have a little bit of a better life. It's just, it's really difficult. But I like that. Yeah, the sun and the moon is a beautiful way of putting that too.
Mm-hmm. It's a good episode. He gave some other examples that I can't really remember, but it was helpful for me this morning thinking about it. And you brought up a good point too of like the women in your life, and kind of that also I think shapes our definition of like femininity, is like those examples that we have. And my mom's a badass. I appreciate her immensely. She does a lot of things, but I also think she's really had to lean into her masculine energy in a lot of just like life and things that have happened. And so I feel like that has also been my example of like this, like going after it, doing all the things, not needing to ask for help, like not needing to show emotion.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, wait, maybe I don't want to be that, you know? Like, as much as I respect and want to be like her, maybe I want to be like that differently and have more of the balance a little bit. And just, I don't know, embrace both sides.
Yeah. I think my struggle lies in, I'm trying to like think back even to like our inner child episode, because I know a lot of it stems from the way that we grew up, how we like just learned to exist. I think like I do find myself having a little bit more of the masculine energy, masculine traits. And I think like I use it because I think that's going to make me better in the world, like attract more attention or get more power or more money. But I feel very awkward. And then when I kind of like slip into these really weird, like passive attitudes, like, okay, for example, before I just like sidetrack, I wanted to tell you this and get your thoughts. Cause I think like this is, I don't know if this is feminine, masculine energy. We can talk about it and you can give me your thoughts. It happened, I think, yesterday. So the restaurant that I work with, the like owner, head chef, whatever, does not hire any guys for like front of house. It's all girls, and we all get along like really, really well. But there are like back of house work, like guy workers. And so there's this one guy who like is very kind, but he is like more of the like more talkative guys, like with the front of house girls. And he like calls everyone beautiful, and it's like, it's not too like weird, but it's just like, oh, you know, whatever, he's hanging, whatever. And very nice, like we'll give fist bumps, like he'll ask like for a hug, like it's not weird, like he'll ask, he won't just like come and like hug you. But it's definitely like an attention thing, and he's kind of like established his like presence along the girls, whether that's like good or bad. And it was this small thing that happened yesterday. I was standing behind like the server counter, and there's like, you can go behind the grill to get to the other side of the restaurant. And one of the other servers was walking towards me, and he was walking out of the kitchen to go to the other side of the restaurant. And as they were pausing, he did like a quick like, oh, like, I'm trying to like explain that for our listeners,
like a fake out?
Yeah, like a fake out, yes, to her. And she was just kind of like busy. She had like her iPad out. She was kind of busy. She was like, whoa, and like walked back, and like she looked at me, and she kind of like was like, oh my God, like rolled her eyes and kept going. we didn't talk about it. I saw the situation. It was like 2 seconds. It wasn't weird. We didn't need to like harp on it. It is what it is. I could not stop thinking about it. I would have done the exact same thing. I would have not like stopped and been like, whoa, I don't really like being like caught off guard. I don't know if she felt uncomfortable, but enough for her to like look at me and be like, oh my God, you know, like, ugh, you know, it's like the things that we do, like very just like a passive, like, I don't know, but also like didn't want to take up space. Like she laughed. She's like, whatever. Like, was that to make him feel more comfortable? Like to say, I don't know. It was just such a weird situation. I don't know if maybe because I was already thinking about like the topic for today and that was like on my mind and I was just being very like judgmental or
like hyper
yes, aware of like just man and women and like all of these things. But I was just like, how interesting. And I find myself like I do that all the time, especially with men, is like I will make myself not myself in order to kind of like fit. And I think I blanket it of like, oh, this is me being like feminine, like I'm being cute and soft and giggly. And I'm like, I don't think I'm grasping feminine attributes or energy the way that I should because I don't feel comfortable when I'm doing the way like society has deemed it appropriate, if that makes sense.
We're speaking as women, getting in touch with our feminine side, but men and women have feminine and masculine energy.
Yes.
I think just everyone as a whole has leaned more in, like it's a masculine dominated world that we live in. That being said, I feel like there's like ebbs and flows and like when someone leans into something more and then the other, like the way you're explaining that story, I don't know that her being like, dude, stop. Would it, like, it sounds like it was such a minor thing that it was more of like a roll your eyes, like whatever situation. I feel like if it was like happening all the time, then it's like, all right, what are you doing? But in this, I listened to another podcast as I was like trying to prep for this, and I think it's called Feminine as Fuck, maybe. She was talking about the like 4, not necessarily chakras, but just like areas that you can like have that feminine and masculine energy, your physical, emotional, energetic, and mental. And so I feel like there can be like, you can be physically like feminine and maybe also mentally like you're in your feminine state, but then like energetically and emotionally you're in your masculine because that's like your line of defense. And it doesn't, I don't know that it necessarily always needs to be that all of them are feminine or all of them are masculine, but just being aware of like where each state is at and kind of healing those different areas. I know that's not like related to that specific example, but it's more of like, okay, she was probably leaning more into her like masculine emotional side of like how she came across a little bit.
Yeah. I think for me, it was more so of like what I would have done in that situation and just like the situation as a whole of like, not that he was, I don't think it's like wrong or right, but it just got me thinking about feminine energy and like the space that we take up a little bit. And I think, the ebb and flow of like where masculine lies and where the feminine lies. Because you're right, it needs to be a balance. But I think sometimes like, I don't know what that would be, maybe physical or maybe not physical, but energetically. Like I do try to like, I have this, I don't know. Now I feel dumb for saying that.
No, we don't.
It just made me think of
it makes you
things.
think of like where these different states are, where
it
you're
has like
at.
nothing to do with.
Okay, one other thought. This podcast, I'll be honest, I didn't really resonate with a lot of what she was saying, or it was just like the approach that she was taking in the podcast wasn't really my like cup of tea. But one example she gave that's kind of cheesy is like, if you think about like a classic like queen who's like leans into her feminine side, but that also doesn't mean that she just like lets people walk all over her. I don't know, that example stuck in my mind of like,
I like that.
She has authority. She sets boundaries.
She's powerful.
But she's also like respectful and listens and like is empathetic. And I don't know, like I think of like a queen like out with the kids and like getting to know or like listening to people. What did they have like back in the day when you could like come talk to the royalty and tell them your problems?
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
But any like show or book or just like cliche that you think of like this woman in power, I think that she has masculine sides of her, but also the feminine sides. And
There's
that
a balance
is what makes her so powerful.
Yeah. I love that. I think too, like, just to help, what helped me is because it's not that I think a lot of people are talking about feminine energy, but I think it's being talked a lot more, talked about a lot more. So I try to like figure out what's the difference between like masculine. You know how I was saying before is there are like certain actions or things that are masculine or feminine that people have like deemed. Oh, we have a guest. Hi.
Hi. Cool story.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working.
It's our job that we don't get paid for it, but we have fun.
So from this article, The Every Girl, which I liked the way that they had wrote a lot of the stuff on here. Okay, here we go. Masculine energy comes out when working towards a goal, making progress, getting things done, and letting ambition lead you. Whereas you exude your feminine side when you move with the flow of life. Flow. There we go. That's probably where I got it. Embrace creativity, sensuality, and attune to the internal processes. So, and this, I loved the way she said this. These designated characteristics, while not associated with gender, stem from societal expectations put on both men and women. But all genders can carry varying degrees of each energy and need to pair these energies to thrive.
I'm sorry, Luna's just licking the dirt.
Luna, stop. Idiot. Ruined it.
No, it was really good. I just could hear her.
It's disgusting.
Anyway. I like that.
And so I think that just helps me like understand it a little bit more. I think it's hard because I do find myself in masculine energy quite often, and I think maybe it's like the way that the world works, but I feel like I'm not good enough when I'm not working towards a goal or making progress. I feel like I'm not, I don't know, existing the way that I should exist if I'm not like getting things done and being ambitious. I also feel like I want so hard to like embrace my creativity. I've talked about like painting and like being artsy and like being sensual, but I'm like, I don't know how. I don't know what that means. I feel very uncomfortable in situations where I do have to. And so I think that's why I'm excited about like our questions that we have later, because I'm like, this is a perfect like journaling like way to just kind of dump it out there to figure out like, why does this state of like feminine energy make me feel so not uncomfortable, but like, yeah, a little,
Yeah,
like a little bit
unnatural.
Yeah,
It's
unnatural.
not-
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're used to. Is there a time like when you feel really feminine, like when you picture yourself being feminine, is there like a state or thing that you're doing or like?
I don't know. Not one that comes to mind. I'm like thinking of all the things I like to do. I don't know. Not really.
Because when I think of like, okay, what is the Erica that I know that has existed before that is feminine? I think of myself like right before we're about to go out. When I've like put on a really cute outfit, I have my hair done, I'm feeling confident, I'm like dancing around, we're being silly, like making jokes. I feel like there's like this excitement. That is when I think I am the most like feminine. And then usually we go out and then I turn into this like, don't fuck with me. Go away. Like, we just want our space. Don't be over here. Like, I think it starts to shift out of the feminine the more we're
like
in public.
Yeah.
Which I think feminine can show up in different ways too, because like what you're describing with like being in tune with nature or the creative side, like there's other states that I think of, but just the one where I'm just like the most like confident and like in touch with myself is usually right before we're about to go out, and then it dwindles away.
I think mine might be maybe just like hearing you talk about that, maybe like right before I go to bed. I have like my nightly routine of like when I take a shower, I take like a long hot shower to get myself ready for bed, and like when I put on lotion, I don't know. See, I feel like
it's like the self-care. It's
Yeah.
like that you're taking time for yourself, you're investing in yourself. Like I feel the least feminine when I'm like grungy AF, like a little like troll gremlin girl that is like like hasn't brushed my hair, haven't put any thought. Like I know that feminine doesn't necessarily mean like your appearance. But I think that like physically, the physical feminine side of myself, I feel the least that way when I haven't invested any time into taking care of myself.
Yeah. I also think like becoming more in tune with my cycle. Like when I am on my period, I feel so like I'm like my body is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Also like I'm doing everything everybody else is doing but bleeding. Like you know, like, and I think that has been a shift since like
Getting off birth control?
Been getting off birth control, but even like I think back to when I first got my period and like this like actual cycle of becoming a woman, like it was so not taboo, not looked down upon, but it felt like such an inconvenience, a burden that I had to bear. And it was just like, oh, now I should like look into getting into birth control. And then it was like, oh, what am I going to do when I go swimming? It was like this whole like thing, you know?
Yeah.
And now I feel like pretty recently this past year, it's been like this very powerful feeling, very like protective. I feel more like aware of where I am, like on my cycle, what I'm feeling. It like makes sense. I'm like, okay, I ate 2 massive cookies and cried my eyes out and then woke up this morning and was like, there we go. Like this makes sense. I have an answer. Like it just feels better. And I think, you know, with everything that we're talking about, it feels very like feminine, powerful and flowy and cycles and all that jazz.
I like that. Should we dive into some questions?
I think so.
I'm gonna go. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Oh, well, it's only getting louder.
Perks of being outside.
Oh my God, there's like 4.
They're coming from all directions.
Okay, it should be. Oh. Let's do it.
We're just gonna go. We kind of already talked about this, but not specifically. What are some negative beliefs or stereotypes I have internalized about being a woman?
I hate the word soft. It's really hard for me, whether, like to me, when I hear like women should be soft or feminine equals soft, it upsets me a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it's maybe the internalized, you know, from society, family, whatever. Like, yeah, just like soft and dainty. Like, I hate that. I don't like that.
Yeah. Like it almost makes me think like frail.
Frail, yes.
Like you're like this weak little thing that needs to be taken care of.
Absolutely. I also think like anything to do with the appearance, how like women should look a certain way. And I don't like that.
Sorry. Just the way that you
Get out of here. I think too, like the need to like be, I mean, everything you can shift to be a positive thing, but like you have to have children. You have to be the nurturing one in the relationship. You should be the one that like cooks and cleans and takes care of your space, which is like, I wish there wasn't a connotation of with it because I do enjoy those things. Yeah. Do you have any others that I might be missing?
No, I feel like those are the ones that come. The appearance one is one that I've struggled with because I feel like there was a lot of resentment that I had in my mind of like, I have to look like this like classic look. And so I would purposely do the opposite or like maybe not like do my hair or not like put on makeup because I'm like trying to make a point even if I like wanted to.
Yeah.
Like it almost felt like I'm like fuck the patriarchy. Like I'm gonna not look like how you think I should look. But there are traits or attributes or things that it's like part of those cliches, like you said, like you do enjoy cooking and cleaning. It's like not going so far to one extreme, I think is the issue in my mind, and trying to embrace like that it's okay to enjoy those things or to look or feel a certain way. Like those stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean you have to become like this cliche woman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the appearance thing is my big thing too, because it's like everything else it is feminine energy and you can gain like power from that. But for me, it's like, why? That's where I'm trying to like build this bridge in my mind and how to bring forth my feminine energy a little bit more is like embracing those things and finding power in that rather than finding power in the appearance things, because it's like it's just only making me uglier, so to speak, you know, when I'm doing things that make me uncomfortable or that I don't like to do, or, you know, for the sake of like bettering my appearance or whatever.
Yeah. I listened to, I called it Russian essay roulette this morning.
I love that.
With the 101 essays. You know how it's
yes.
on Spotify now?
Spotify, yes.
And the one that I clicked was basically like, what would you care about, or how would you change your life if we didn't have bodies? Like if we were only souls.
Yeah.
So like the working out piece wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
The like physical appearance piece wouldn't matter. Like would you spend your days in the library? Would you spend your days like with compassion and like getting to know people instead of this just like constant worry about like making money? Because it's like when you're a soul, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to eat. You don't need to like all those things, you know? And it got me thinking, and you bringing that up is really, I don't know. It's like sometimes I think for me, my biggest struggle is like, I think feminine, I think appearance. And I'm like, I don't want to be
and then
like
you spiral.
conceited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very quick and like a spiral. Yeah. It's hard. Okay. What are some memories from your childhood that come to mind when you think about your relationship with femininity?
Well, this is going off of the queen thing. My whole first week of kindergarten, I wore a crown to school every day. My mom used to tell me like how confident I was as a kid and like how much I didn't give a fuck. And I just like literally did what I wanted. I wore what I wanted. I was who I was. I like played and was creative. And I think I was, I mean, when you're a kid. What was that thing I sent you on Reductress that was like, woman complains about how life used to be easier because she was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's
in
true.
a way, yeah. Because I feel like the more I became just like aware of being a woman, the less I did those things.
Yeah.
And the more I like got into like, I'm a tomboy. Like I would try and like play football with the boys on recess. And like, I remember I could like punt the football. Couldn't catch, it was not coordinated anyway, but I could for some reason kick it very far. And that was like very, I don't know. I was like, oh, I'm impressing the boys. And so I got to play with the boys. And like, I stopped like playing dress up. I stopped like doing the creative things that I like to do. And I think really leaned into like working out a lot. Like we've talked about like how we would go to swim practice and then like come home and like run.
Yeah.
And like do like these extra things. And not that that is necessarily bad.
It didn't come from a good
But it
place.
didn't, yeah,
though.
it was not like a healthy, like, oh, I love doing this, I want to do it. It was like, I need to get better, I need to be the best, I need to work harder. Like, I had a picture on my Instagram. Sorry, this is a whole spiral, but you got me on it. Of my heels. I don't know if you remember this.
I do. Bleeding? I do.
Because I had
remember
ran
this.
so far and so hard. The blisters on my feet had popped and I kept running, and literally my socks, my shoes, everything was bloody because I didn't stop. And this was like back when Instagram had like 5 people that followed you. But I posted a photo of it because I was like, look at me. I just like kept running.
What was your
I'm
caption?
Like, I don't even know. I need it.
That's so
I
funny.
archived that because I was like that. No.
Yeah.
But like that was kind of what I leaned into, and I think it shaped me in a lot of ways in a good way, but it also is like a lot of things I'm unlearning. Like even in this triathlon training we've talked about of like, I'm not working out and being like, I have to run a 7-minute mile for 6 miles or else it's a fail.
Yeah.
Like I'm running over 10-minute miles and I'm like, that felt really good. And I'm glad that I got outside and it was a beautiful day.
Such a shift. Yeah. I definitely agree that like as a kid, you're just like, you exist and you feel so yourself. And it's not until you become aware of what being a girl is and what society has, then that is like when all of the negative things kind of come in and you lose sight of like who you were when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Very side by side to inner child.
It is, I think. One thing that I have been thinking about a lot recently is like, the boundaries piece and just, I'm not trying to call myself easy by any means or like a slut or like anything like that. Like I don't feel that way about myself. But I think sometimes I'll turn off my emotion or just like not like be like set boundaries because I'm like trying to be cool. I'm trying to be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, let's hook up or like, yeah, you can like touch me. I don't care. But I do care. And I feel like younger me, I had some like kind of fucked up experiences, but I was trying to set boundaries and I was trying to say no. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Or like, like I just was more respectful of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something I'm trying to work on now and like dating again is like, no, like you're not going to waste my time. You're not going to like, we're not going to hook up the first day that we meet, like that is not, it's not something I want to be doing.
A woman's capacity to
Compartmentalize?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is astounding. And like literally like things like things can be happening to me and I can just be like in one little part of my brain and be like, this isn't even happening. Yeah. Like, and then just continue on with life. Mm-hmm. And how many other women experience very similar things. Not even like, anything. And it's just crazy. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Yeah. I don't even remember what your original question was, but those were things I needed to get off my chest.
I love that.
Apparently.
I love it. No, that answers. It's perfect.
We're a little bit in the negative, but I'm going to keep it going. What are some of my own qualities that I feel are unfeminine? Why?
I just feel like I don't do feminine right. Like, I think that I'm very stuck in comparison, very much appearance or like a feeling. And all of it, literally all of it, stems from like whether or not it's getting attention from a male. Yeah, like my lack of boundaries, or if I feel like if I have like a stake or a claim in something, I will, I don't know, like spiraling. Maybe just like the way that I talk.
I literally, okay,
just
was it the last episode or the episode before? I was like, I sound like a man.
You don't sound like a man. But
my voice, I was like,
yeah. And like the way that I say things, or like when I'm talking to other people, like it's all comparing, like what I think is right or something. But I'll like hear another girl that's like gorgeous, and she's just like so, again, soft, but not in the bad way, but just like so like just talking and flowing, and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like I feel like my existence is just not feminine in the way that I, like in anything that I do, really, the way that I carry myself too. Like I already feel so, I know that I've been short, but never before in my life have I felt so little and small until like pretty recently, like the last 2 years, that I feel like I need to like not even, it's not you. I feel like in any aspect, like I just feel like overlooked and tiny and like, but then when I look in the mirror, I'm like, I don't know, I'm spiraling, but like it just like I feel like I have to be like, I'm here,
Look at me.
Yeah.
I
feel like I'm tiny, but like not in the right way, or like I'm talking, but not in the right way. Yeah,
it's like. But, okay, so the latter half of the question, it asks, is this true? Like, do you think that those things that you're talking about are innately not feminine, or it's just this idea in your mind that you have of what's feminine?
I feel like both. I think I just feel very, like, uncomfortable most of the time. Like, I know people make a joke of, like, when you walk away and you're like, why the fuck did I say what I said? But, like, almost every, like, I just feel very uncomfortable. And I don't know, like, what that is. I feel like just reading everything, listening to everything along the lines of like feminine energy, like the word imbalanced is like what's popping up. Like I just feel like off. So I don't know. Is it true? I believe it is. Probably not, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but it's your own feeling.
Yeah. It is. Have I experienced any trauma or negative experiences that have affected how I perceive being a woman? And have these experiences affected me emotionally and mentally? That's pretty deep. I don't know
That
if we
is-
want to go into that.
I mean, I feel like it's a lot of the inner child stuff. I feel like it's a lot like the more you're in touch with yourself in general, it doesn't matter if it's like an energy thing, a feminine, masculine. I think it's more of like healing those traumas, understanding why you are the way that you are, not necessarily trying to change that in any way, but just like the healing process, investing time in the healing process of yourself allows you, I think, to get into these kind of like niche conversations of, yeah, I want to be more in touch with my feminine, or like, what are some things I can do to do that? Like, I feel like if you haven't really taken a step back and thought about like traumatic experiences that have happened to you, or like what has shaped you, it's really difficult to just wake up one day and be like,
I'm
I'm
gonna start
gonna
journaling
be...
more, and that's gonna bring out. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you kind of have to start, from the very beginning.
Yeah, there's a
agree.
lot of deep stuff in there
Yeah.
to work through. I know I said I didn't really like that podcast, but I have one more quote that this made me think of that I wrote down from it, which she was more talking about like the healing piece and like finding your purpose, or this like when you're dating, like what are you looking for? But she had said along the lines of like, when you're actively looking and like pursuing something, you're only seeing what you know. Like the only thing you can really pick up on is what you've already experienced. So like if you're trying to figure out your purpose, you're really only going to go after like things that you already know. Like, oh, I know I don't like this, and I know I have had a bad experience with that, and I know that this is something that I want. Like, is this making sense?
Yes.
And so I was thinking about more like recently how, because I don't have a job right now, and because I like really there's not a lot going on in my life. I'm not dating, I don't have a job, like I've been able to kind of just like explore even within my own mind, and like go on walks and take time and like say yes to things like that I've never done before. Even like open water swimming the other week, which is like really scary for me, even though I've swam my whole life. Like, I think it's just allowing me to see things a little differently. And so this is a weird side tangent, but more of like when we are being like, I want to be feminine, and we're only looking at like the things that we know instead of just being like more open to that and seeing what kind of experiences kind of come our way, being in that flow state of like being. Yeah. There we go. Wrapping it up.
Love that.
Okay. I'm curious how you're going to answer this. How do I feel about expressing anger? Who am I when I am angry?
Triggered. Also, I just gave this dog a
I
fucking
know,
bath,
I know.
and she has.
I wanted to tell you when we were walking, she was sticking her head in every puddle.
How do I feel when I'm angry?
Yeah, there we go.
This is perfect. In the zone. This is interesting.
Well, I think while you're thinking of this, one thing I was reading is like being feminine is being in touch with your emotions, and anger is an emotion.
Yes.
And anger is also being feminine, and I think there's that connotation, like I'm really good at suppressing and like not getting too upset until I was robbed recently, and then I was so fucking pissed. And that was like, I feel like I almost overreacted because I don't ever allow myself to get really upset.
You did not overreact.
Well, I like couldn't sleep. I was like literally so like shaking in my body, angry. And anyway, go ahead, answer the question.
No, I do think I even though it makes me upset sometimes, and I think it only makes me upset because of the world that we live in, but I'm very in touch with like all of my emotions. I cry a lot, I get angry a lot, those are pretty much the two, but like I can feel things very deeply, like even happiness, joy, like I could be like walking and see a beautiful flower and start tearing up. And like sometimes in my mind, I'm like, Ellie, this is so dumb. But then part of me, like deep down, I'm like, this is beautiful. Like I very much feel like happy that I can feel everything. I think with anger, I think there's a lot of like childhood stuff that comes up with it. Like it's just can be a little scary. I don't like that side of me. I feel like too much. It's like I'm taking up too much space. I feel like when I'm angry, I have to like hide myself away because no one wants to see that. But oh God, I'm angry all the time. Like I don't know. I just think like
I think you allow yourself to express that emotion.
Yeah.
The second part of the question is, who am I when I'm angry? Is this true? I don't really know what they're looking for in
Yeah.
that, but I'm curious if there's anything that comes to mind.
I don't necessarily like when I'm angry because I can spiral. I think in a lot of moments, like I get so sucked into that one emotion. Like I'm in tune with it and that's great, but it's really hard for me to see like anything else. Like as soon as I see red, or like if I'm like very sad, like I can spiral very quickly, instead of just like when my sister likes to say a lot of like ride the wave of just like, it's just, you're just at the top, just like breathe for a second and you'll come down. Like I will make life-changing decisions when I'm at the peak of an emotion, instead of just like, okay, I'm angry, I'm upset right now. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I answered your question, honestly.
You answered it how you wanted. I don't really know what the purpose was. I just think it's interesting to talk about anger when you think about femininity.
Yeah.
Because it is like, that was something that I was also like, being in touch with your emotions also means being in touch with the quote unquote negative ones. And that doesn't make you any less like feminine. And I think again, it's like this connotation of like, women are crazy, or like, calm down, like, stop. It's like, no, you can do that. You can feel those things. And like, I think it's a way that you can work through to make decisions about stuff.
You know what I like about being angry though, is I'll get angry about something, and then when I've calmed down a little bit, like after the fact, after I've like ridden the wave, what turns out like what I thought was anger ends up being like jealousy, or like fear, or some other emotion that I am able to like recognize, maybe like not in that moment, but will lead me to think of something else. And like, how great is it that like I can feel all of those things? But I think for me, at least, like anger is the first thing I go to, maybe because I'm like comfortable. It's been like, there's like anger in my family is quite a strong emotion. And so I think like it just goes like, even when I'm like upset and clearly sad about something, it will like somehow become angry. And so I think that's good, maybe not like the best, but in the sense of like being like channeling feminine energy is great, because like at least I have that, you know.
And it allows you to get there and to be able to see those things. Like if you don't allow yourself to feel anger, then maybe you would never recognize that it's like deep rooted in jealousy or in fear, or the other things that you said.
Yeah, the flies are coming out.
This is like our camping
I was
ground,
just
too.
thinking that. Like,
We're not high enough to think it's funny.
yeah, no, not at all. I'm angry. In what ways do I internalize the suppression of my authentic feminine qualities? How can I show myself more compassion for who I am in each moment?
Internalize the suppression of my authentic feminine qualities.
I feel like that's a lot of words for like, you know.
I understand.
Okay.
It's more me just like thinking of the words to say. Let me help you. That's a lot of words.
I actually have a brain, but thanks. If I only had a brain. That's literally what I'm thinking of. Okay.
I love it. Okay, to answer your question, maybe I'm playing the blame game here, but I think innately, I have, like, I think really deep down, I do feel a lot of things, and I do, like, open my heart very wide for everyone, and I love people. I think I am very compassionate. I think I've been hurt a lot and maybe not had clear enough boundaries. So that's one area that I'm blaming. And I also feel like in the Mormon church, those are very cliche, like, things that a woman should be.
Yeah.
And so I think a part of my, like, journey of kind of figuring out who I am and what I believe and how I feel about stuff has been, like, turning those parts of myself off.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it a little bit with, like, the drinking and stuff. And I don't think I realized it at the time, but I do think it was me just, like, not allowing myself to be those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm still the,
Suppression.
like, fun, like, out there Erica, but I'm not, like, being compassionate with you. I'm not really getting that, like, having a deep conversation with you because I'm blackout. Like, because I can't, like, you know, I can't get hurt because I'm not feeling anything. Because I'm not, like, being those, what did it describe? Like, feminine something? Traits?
Yeah.
Attributes?
Qualities.
All mean the same thing, but I wanted to say
Get the right word. I know. So the second part is, how can I show myself more compassion for who I am in each moment?
I think you're a good example of this to me, of what we were just talking about, of feeling your emotions. Because I think, like, here I'm getting emotional, but, like, when I allow myself to feel those things and not be like, Erica, like, stop, you know, like, why are you getting upset? Like, don't get upset. Be cool. Be, like, chill. It's fine. Like, when I allow myself to feel those things, I feel like I grow as a person, and I have more of those qualities. Like, I feel more compassion because I've, like, worked through it, you know, instead of, like, push it down. They're going to hurt you. You don't need to open up. Like, you don't need to talk about those things. The comment that our friend made the other day about, you know, we don't even need to talk about it, but I think that really hurt because it was like, I shared one thing that was going on in my life, and I'm very self-conscious about talking about myself and, like, opening up. Like, I'll ask people questions about their life, and they're opening up to me, and that's great, and they won't know a single thing about me, and that's fine. But when I open up and then it's talked about as, like, this, like, negative thing, then it's like, I don't want to do that. I'm
confused. What situation? What did he say?
Erica's like Jesus, and like, that to me is like, I'm opening up, I'm telling this story that people are around me, like, listening to. And then I'm like, well, I just, like, if that's how that's interpreted, which I'm not letting him have that power, but, like, my initial reaction was that.
You also made me think back to, like, the anger piece. You had just said something about, like, push it down. I think for me, because I automatically associate being angry with, like, it's a very masculine trait, that, like, it's okay for me to be angry and be upset and, like, yell and do all of these things because that's accepted in the world. It's easy and it's not, like, too emotional. But if I am literally anything else, then I'm the over emotional. So if I can just channel everything, whether it's, like, fear, whatever I just said, like, into anger, then that emotion is fine. Just happy, mad, like, that's it. When, like, that's just not the case.
There's
and
so
to be
many
able
other
to feel,
emotions in that spectrum.
Okay,
We're crying now. I'm gonna combine these. It's gonna be like a 3-part one question.
Okay, love it.
First, describe a woman who embodies traits or qualities that you admire.
I don't think there's just, like, one woman. I think I find something that I like in, like, literally any single woman I talk to. So I'm like, wow, you're really good at this. But I think the woman that I think of that has been, like, most impactful in my life is my mom. You know? No. No.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, there's just, I think everything that I associate being, like, womanly or feminine, she has and, like, can express and is not, like, ashamed of that. And it's, like, I don't know, very beautiful.
What are some of those traits or qualities?
Very, like, sensual, like, not to get, like, weird or anything, but I think it's just, like, she's just so okay with who she is and what she likes. And I mean, there's obviously, like, some things that she's, like, worked through and is still working through, but I think, like, I see what I lack of being, like, comfortable in my own body, which I know for her it's, like, taken some time. But I mean, in the sense of just, like, you know how, like, I forget when, it was, like, a few episodes ago, I was talking about how, like, I feel like I'm taking more pictures of myself. Like, she just is, like, not that she's taking pictures of herself, but she just is a very, like, I don't know, sensual. I think that's, like, the main one.
Okay, now that you're thinking of those, what is a time that you have felt the most powerful and connected to yourself? What was happening in that moment?
Connected to myself. Oh my God. Honestly, it's like little moments. I am not like, there's not like a time that I've felt like most comfortable or powerful, but there are like little things that happen, like when I'm on a hike or like accomplishing something, which is like the exact opposite of what we're talking about.
I don't think necessarily, though. I think it's like the way, like, yes, masculine is doing, but I think like the flow of being feminine allows you to do things and to accomplish things. And it's not always necessarily like, did you get 7,000 tasks done today?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that is like masculine, like grind. And I think the feminine is still like accomplishing things. Like, you're still creating.
Yeah.
You're still building. It's just a different
But I don't
state.
think I feel powerful. Like, that's not the word that I would use. I don't think.
But do you feel connected to yourself?
In certain like blips in my life, there's like been moments, and I think like a lot of them have to do when I am like something to do with nature is like the most that I felt it.
Yeah. A big hike or like a backpacking trip or something like that. Like, I feel like that's...
Yeah. Or like even like day to day, like when I'm like gardening or working with my plants, I love it. And I get that from my mom. She has like such a green thumb and she loves that. And I think that's like very feminine and like connect with yourself on like a different, like I just love using my hands in a way that's like, I don't know. It's like the nurturing
caring.
side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
nurturing.
caring. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, wait, can I just ask you that same question? Both of those?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one was,
The attributes.
describe a woman who embodies traits and qualities that I admire. Is that the one that you did? Oh, yeah.
I'm just thinking of it differently. My initial reaction is my mom, and we talked about this a little bit in the beginning. But I actually feel like, and you kind of mentioned this, like you look at every woman you talk to, there's traits and qualities and things that you admire about them. And one person that has been my, like, two people that have been like my longest and closest friends here, I think both embody very different sides of feminine energy. One of them was on the podcast, Catherine. Go listen to that episode. She talks about being confident.
Yeah.
And she's great. And another is Sarah. And I met them both through work. But they, like, when I think about Catherine, I think of sensual. I think she's, like, confident because she's, like, she knows what she likes. She's in touch with her body. She has, like, discovered her style, what she, like, how she chooses to express herself.
Yeah.
She's talked a lot about, like, how she used to literally ditch school and, like, go take pictures of herself.
Fuck yeah.
Which I love, and you bringing up the picture piece, it's like, she's, like, confident in how she looks and is not, like, trying to be anyone else in her appearance.
Yeah.
When I think of Sarah, is almost, like, opposite a little bit, in the sense of she's okay to ask for things and to, like, express her needs and to feel emotions, like being nervous about something or excited about something and, like, checking in on people. She's really good. Like, we hadn't seen each other in weeks and she just, like, calls me and, like, checks in, which I think is, like, it's very rare for me to have a friend like that in my life, but I feel like that's someone who's in touch with her emotion and her, like, relationships in her life.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of really powerful women that I think we're able to surround ourselves with here, and a lot of different, like, attributes in all of them that I admire, that I, like, want to embody as a woman.
Yeah. There's a lot of things too where I will see something and I'm like, that is, like, perfect for you. Like, that fits. They're very confident. And then they're, like, that I appreciate. And then there are other people that have, like, qualities or attributes that I'm like, yeah, I would like that. Like, I want to get better at that. And so, like, it's hard because, like, I see, like, even women that I don't even know, like, even the people that I work with, like, I can always find something about, like, their feminine energy that they're giving off that I think is, like, awesome or great, or that they're really good at, which is wonderful. Like, how powerful of that is to, like, have women, like, I don't know,
that, yeah, you can have as an example
Yeah.
in your life in that.
Yeah.
We're suddenly in a windstorm.
Yeah,
So
and the
sorry if
clouds are
the
getting
audio
dark. Like,
is-
what the heck? It's gonna
We're
start
about to be
hailing
rained
again.
on.
And then the second part of the question was, think of a time when you feel most powerful and connected to your pure feminine energy. Was that the second part?
Yeah, I said yourself because I just feel like, when have you felt the most powerful and connected to yourself?
Yeah.
I didn't know these were going to be flipped onto me.
I know. Question.
Let's see.
It's hard because like the world can be so rough sometimes. And I don't know if it's like the state that I'm in right now. Maybe if we were to like talk about it again, which I'm sure we will, but like I can be feminine, and then kind of like what you were saying about going out is like that is when you're feeling it, you're feeling good, and then like we step out and it like just slowly deteriorates. I feel like that with anything. Like I feel really confident when I take pictures sometimes. And then I feel really confident when I'm like trying on clothes sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel really confident when I'm, you know what I mean? It's like, and the sometimes happen when I get like a negative response from men, or when I don't think I'm hitting like the societal hush. This, you know what I mean? Like, it's just hard.
Yeah. Which I think is life. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be like, you for always, every time you get dressed, feel great.
Yeah.
Or like every time you, whatever. But because I can't think of like, oh yeah, every time I do this, I feel so confident and the most in touch with myself. But one thing that's coming to mind is honestly like coaching, which I guess there can be like a masculine side of that. But I think what I enjoy about it, it's the same thing I enjoy about like managing and just like helping people, is that like feminine side of that. It's like I get to help people achieve the goals, whatever it is that they have for themselves. And like you get to know someone, and I'm not like, I think one thing that makes me decent at it is that I genuinely like want to get to know the people who are coming into the class or who I am managing or whatever.
Yeah.
And like ask them about their day and then follow up with them later about it and like correct them on their form, but in like a gentle way. I'm not just like, you're doing this wrong, you know? And I think that I feel confident when I'm doing that. Like I try and go to other classes so that I can learn, like it's something I want to get better at, but there's not like I've made it when in either of those roles. In managing people or in being a coach, it's not like you're trying to like reach this like accomplishment. It's just like you're just trying to get better as a person. And I feel like that is probably why I'm able to lean into it more, because it's not like a right or wrong way to do it. It's more of just like being in tune with myself and in tune with the energy of the room and the class and whoever.
Fuck yeah. I love that.
Thanks.
Perfect.
That's my answer.
Well, I think we should wrap up with some ways, like kind of, lack of a better word, like basic ways that you can kind of start to get in touch with your feminine energy right now, whether it's like doing these things or even like answering the questions that we just asked each other. With all of these like activities, I guess, it's all on a spectrum, and you're gonna get what you put in. And so like, for example, this first one says practice self-reflection. It's like basic. Wow, full on tornado happening. We're gonna wrap up soon. World, hold on. Oh my god, this is crazy. Like,
Keep going, you're on a roll.
Of like practice self-reflection, which is great, but I think if like when I just read that, I was like, practice self-reflection. What the fuck? But also like if you kind of just sit with it, that meditating, like if you do these things every day, soon enough you'll get in what you get out of that. And I think that's great. But when I read this, like self-reflection is like kind of what I was saying about how I feel about like anger, and how like in the moment I'm like so fucking angry, and then like a few hours pass and I realize like, oh my gosh, this situation I wasn't angry at all. I felt like really manipulated and my boundary was crossed, yada yada. And I think that in itself is self-reflection, therefore equaling the feminine energy. Second one this is all on the same article that I referenced before, theevergirl.com. Tune into your intuition to make decisions. This is so hard for me because like I do believe like I have a gut feeling, but it only is really there if like when it's screaming out at me in certain situations. But the way that I interpret this like day to day is what you were saying at the very beginning of like having boundaries and sticking with those boundaries. Like that, your intuition has made those boundaries for you. So if you stick with that, that in itself is like feminine energy. Wow, what the heck is happening?
No, you're doing great.
Third one is harness your creativity. This is like a goal of mine to be doing anyway, is just like being more creative and also just accepting that like I may not be the best and it's not gonna win me any awards or pay for things, but like, I don't know, at least I'm doing it. I enjoy it. I enjoy working with my hands and doing these things. Like I wanna continue doing that. Number 4, prioritizing your me time. I like this one. I mean, I think I do prioritize my me time. Like, I think everything is me time. But I think...
My life is me time.
My life is me time, yes, it is. But when I kind of read this, I meant it of like, what is me time? Is me time really having like 7 screens open and like I'm watching this and this and this and this and like that's my chill out time? Like, not really, no, because like I'm not, like not one single thought is entering my brain and it's all like, what's that word? Like suppressing anything that I want, like I'm not really feeling. And so like what is really me time is allowing that flow state, allowing my thoughts to like come in and then like let them pass. And when I do that is like when I'm on a walk or, you know, when there are no screens, when I'm journaling. And so can I prioritize that as my me time? Like I can do a little bit of a better job at that. Next one is allowing yourself to just be. For me, I didn't really resonate with that because like allowing myself just to, that's hard. I don't really know how to do that.
My mind goes to allowing yourself to be bored because I think that's when I get like ideas or have creativity or like when you're not distracting yourself with your screen. Like one thing I'm really working on as of like 3 days ago is when I wake up in the morning, my phone isn't by my bed, but I will turn off my alarm and go get my phone. It's the first thing I do. I mean, maybe I'll pee first, but like I'm trying really hard to like have a little self-reflection, do a little like me time, as in like brush my teeth, wash my face, get myself like ready for the day, and then don't pick up my phone. Like, especially because I have this time right now, just like what is it that I feel like I want to do? And I think that is kind of where that stems from, of like not having distractions and just like maybe being bored.
Yeah. Not chasing after a goal or like do.
Yeah, like, well, great, let me start checking off my list. Like, if I have this time.
Yeah.
There's, like, 3 things I want to accomplish today. It doesn't need to be right this second.
Yeah. And then the last one is, I think it's the last one, yeah. Embrace your sensuality. So, again, this is hard. This is, like, the one that I want to work for. So I'm just going to read a little bit, like, this first sentence, which I think is great. We're not just talking about sexuality, but also becoming in tune with our 5 senses and being able to enjoy physical pleasures by being in the present. So before, when I was talking about my mom and like being sensual, like I get a lot of my things from her, and one of her main things is like the smell of the house, the smell of like an atmosphere. I love incense. I feel like you love a candle. Like it works. It works well. And I appreciate that. And it gives me a little bit of a better example on how to be a little bit more sensual and also break this idea. Like, I know it's not true, but like sensual doesn't equal sexual. And like, I have to remind myself, and like, I know, but when I think of sensual, I'm like, oh, you know, like I have to look better.
Like foreplay. I literally think of someone like crawling on a bed. Like that's the first image that comes to my mind. When someone says sensual, I think of someone in lingerie like crawling across a bed.
Ew, I was just talking to my mom about that. No, that's not what we mean. That's not what it is. But yeah, it is really hard to kind of like think, like sensual is such a weird word, but like I know it doesn't mean that. So how can I embrace that without thinking it's sexual?
One thing that came to mind, again, I think it's because I've been having the time to be able to allow myself to think this, is like cooking more. And like I'm really trying to think of that as like a creative expression. Like when I was making broccoli the other day and I'm like, we're just throwing on spices. I don't know what's happening. We're going to see how it tastes. And then like really tasting my food and like being in tune with how does it taste? Does it feel like, because there's been moments in my life, literally years in my life, when I'm just like, I just need food. I'm starving. Eat whatever, keep going. I have goals, I have deadlines, I have things to get done. And so then I lose those emotions or senses.
Yeah. I love that. That's perfect. I think that's great. I need to start doing that. So that's how I'll do that. Anyway, yeah.
Ebbs and flows and feminine energy. And I think this is the year for it. Even though we're in March. This is the time for it.
But I think like what a great way to talk about it. Start of like spring. I'm sure like there's going to be another cold thing coming up, like another cold spell, but at least like we're getting into those months of spring to blossom. Like outside. Yeah, a great way to talk about it is to go outside and just, at least for me, like I feel very in touch when I'm like in nature. The dogs are just walking away. I can hear their leash just trailing behind them.
I think it's
Both
time
of them
for us to go. All right.
Oh gosh.
I think hopefully we said something that resonated with you. We're working on being in touch with our feminine. We're not gonna change ourselves. I think it's just more of being in touch with who we are inside and allowing those things to come out.
Yeah.
And if you enjoyed this episode or any episode, give us a 5-star review, rate, subscribe, send us a text or a message letting us know what you liked about an episode so we can do more of it. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere you listen to a podcast, you can find us. Flat as fuck. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.